Welcome to Hofstra Today.
We get an exclusive look at some of this spring's senior films.
We attend the Zarb School's Capture the Flag event.
And interview anchor Fatima Moen sits down with Linda Longmire for Women's History Month.
All that at and around Hofstra Today.
Welcome to Hofstra Today. I'm Danny DiCrescenzo.
And I'm Yao Bonsu. Danny, we are back at the desk, finally back from spring break. How'd you spend your week off?
I spent it working, interning, working on some papers, but now I'm back out and about and on TV with you.
How many pages was that paper?
24 pages that I wrote out of 40, so making great progress, more than 50% done.
So you woke up one day and just decided to write a 40-page paper, or 24 out of 40?
I just locked in, simple as that.
What is it about?
Academic Union.
What was the paper about?
It's a media critique.
Media critique.
Radio, broadcast, newspaper.
Wow.
Everything.
Well, I spent my week interning. I'm at Fox Sports, you're at CNN, so obviously we're getting a lot of experience, but politics is way more intense than sports is.
Oh yeah, especially right now with the election drawing ever nearer.
Well, as we all know, President Biden, President Trump, they're heading towards a rematch. That's a bit obvious, but still Super Tuesday is still going, but there's still a lot of news to discuss. What do you think is the biggest takeaway you've seen from your internship?
Well, what I've seen is you can't predict the future.
Cannot
predict the future in politics.
But there is a guarantee.
There's no clairvoyance, there's no crystal ball.
We know what the 2024 election is going to look like come this November, and that's exactly where we start, because as we said, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump already secured their party's presidential nominations. However, primary voting still rolls on. New York is set to vote on April 2nd, and Hofstra University is an early voting location, only one of 27 in Nassau County. Residents have been voting on campus since March 23rd, and it continues through Saturday at the Sandra and David S. Mack Student Center. Associate to the President for Government and Community Affairs, Sandra Washington, says Hofstra is committed to encouraging residents to exercise their right to vote. She added that the university is excited to release voting access to students.
Attention all fellow seniors, make sure to check your inbox with important updates regarding senior class portraits. These professional headshots will be taken by Prestige Portraits by Lifetouch. More appointments with extended hours have been added from Monday, April 8th to Friday, April 12th in rooms 308 and 309 in Weller Hall. That's the Career Center. There's a $15 sitting fee per appointment payable by credit or debit. Cash won't be accepted.
All right, Danny, Monday marks the start of National Public Health Week. It is a time where the public health industry is celebrated. The week also highlights the most important health issues facing the country. Hofstra is holding a long line of events to celebrate, and it begins with the Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is event. The event will touch on the importance of health and how an integrated care approach can help advance health equity. That'll take place on Monday at 4:30 over Zoom, and National Public Health Week events continue through April 11th.
Later this afternoon in the Cultural Center Theater, poet, essayist, and professor Elizabeth Schmierman will be visiting Hofstra as part of the 20th annual Great Writers, Great Readers series. She'll be speaking about and reading from her first poetry chapbook, Alexander the Great, which was published earlier this month. The event will take place from 4:30 to 7 p.m. and copies of her work will be available for purchase and for signing. Advanced registration is required via the Hofstra Events website.
Artificial intelligence continues to impact more and more industries around the globe, and that includes financial services. Banking and financial services company BNY Mellon is hosting a discussion on AI in the industry. Experts will speak on the pros and cons of AI in financial services. The panel will also touch on how AI impacts jobs, as well as its effects on financial regulation. The event is Wednesday, April 10th at 5:30 p.m. at the BNY Mellon building in New York City.
You mentioned New York City. Let's bring it back to Hofstra because the Lawrence Herbert School of Communications Film Department is in preparation for their 27th annual Student Film Festival. The festival will take place in May with students submitting work from class levels ranging from intermediate film production to senior thesis projects. We sat down with some of the students working on their thesis films to hear about how their individual productions are going. Let's take a look.
Senior film's a lot of fun. The first semester spent a lot on workshopping your script and getting it to like a good place. While the second semester is really pre-production and production itself. Pre-production mainly occurs, I feel like, towards the end of the first semester, January. Then like second semester, that's really when we like shoot stuff. That's when we got our crews together.
The script that I based mine off of was 2 different scenes I wrote 3 to 4 years ago, and I ended up combining them to make this film. So write down anything that comes into your head, because you never know.
My advice for someone doing a senior would be try to determine if you want to do something that you want to challenge yourself with or something that you really want to have fun with and showcase your skills. I went with something more challenging. I wrote something I wasn't that familiar with, but that led me to study a genre more and have got more of an appreciation for it.
Start preparing now. It's a lot of work, but make sure you have good connections here at Hofstra. Find people who have talents that you're looking for.
Not only have people been looking to help me achieve what I've been looking for, but like I'm able to help others achieve what they're trying to do. And it's just it's incredible. It's very fulfilling, and it's a good time.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough, but at the end of the day, as long as it's something you're proud of, that's all that really matters, you know? And your crew, your actors, your locations, all of that money, all of that time spent will be well worth it in the end. I promise you.
I feel like after each day, I had to just take a long, deep breath and say, you did it. Okay, now on to the next day. But it was honestly so fun and so great to work with all these determined people that were putting in all the effort they had. I had so much fun, and nothing can prepare you for being on a senior film set. But we got through it, and I think it was a great experience.
Thank you to those students for sharing their projects with us. New legal ethics. It is a term coined by Cornell Law School professor Bradley Wendell. It is described as the tendency for lawyers and non-lawyers to attribute the unethical acts of clients to the lawyers who represent them. Professor Wendell is bringing his teachings to Hofstra. The lecture will look into complicity in moral philosophy and how it impacts his idea of new legal ethics. It takes place tomorrow at 1 in room 308 of Hofstra School of Law.
Florida International University professor Marcus Thiel will be hosting a talk on campus on April 15th at 11:30 a.m. to discuss the European Union and its plans to implement guidelines for internal and external promotion of LGBTQ+ rights. This talk is part of a 3-year grant from the EU that examines the EU's activities in the areas of anti-discrimination and hate crime policy. This event is free and open to the public, and as always, students can RSVP on the Hofstra events website.
Now's the time when students are looking for internships or jobs, and for those looking for positions in health and human services, there is a career fair on the way. Companies are visiting to recruit for full-time, part-time, volunteer, and internship opportunities. No pre-registration is required, and it takes place next Friday, April 5th at 1 p.m. in Multipurpose Room West in the Student Center.
The Hofstra Cultural Center and the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication will proudly present Norman Lear, a screening and discussion early next month. The showing will be of Maude, a groundbreaking show created by the late TV legend. It follows an outspoken middle-class woman living in suburban New York during the 1970s. This screening will feature an introduction by Professor Carol Fletcher and a conversation with Professor Uru Buru, and will take place April 8th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. in room 211 in Breslin Hall. RSVP on the Hofstra events website.
Coming up, your national report with Antonio Schoenhart. Don't go away.
The family's visit to the forest inspired a beautiful question. Mother, mother, am I a tree? You tell me to stand tall. You tell me to stay rooted. I think I am a tree. My child, of course you are. But what kind of tree will you be? The kind to hug or the kind to climb? Doesn't matter what you choose, so long as you choose to be a tree that's kind.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Now let's hear from Antonio Schoenhardt with this week's national news. Maryland's Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed after 1:30 a.m. on Tuesday after being hit by a cargo ship. Search and rescue is ongoing to locate 6 of the 8 victims. All crew members on the cargo ship have been accounted for, and there are no reports of injury to them. Before striking the bridge, the ship lost power and sent out a mayday call, which allowed authorities to stop all traffic on the bridge. Maryland Governor Wes Moore says, quote, "We are Maryland tough and we are Baltimore strong. So in the face of heartbreak, we come together." The story is still being developed as more information comes forward. After the overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022, a new abortion hearing took place in the Supreme Court on Tuesday, a case that could reshape access to abortions nationwide. The justices heard a challenge of the FDA's regulation of the drug mifepristone, the most common abortion method in the United States. The majority of the justices did seem skeptical to restricting the pill. The plaintiff doctors claim that the availability of the drug was improperly authorized and has impacted them, as they seem to take care for suffering women from complications from the pill. These doctors do not prescribe mifepristone or perform abortions. Federal authorities raided American rapper Sean Diddy Combs' Los Angeles and Miami homes on Monday. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed that they had, quote, executed law enforcement actions, unquote, as this is part of an ongoing investigation. Several lawsuits filed last year have raised sexual assault and rape allegations against Combs, but it is unclear whether the search is related to these lawsuits. Combs' current whereabouts are unknown, but his attorney said he's, quote, innocent and will continue to fight to clear his name. Now let's head back to campus to hear about the recent Capture the Flag event taking place in the Zarb School of Business.
It's a CTF, the cybersecurity event is inviting any student at Hofstra who has an interest in the cybersecurity.
Well, I had read about the cybersecurity lab opening a few years ago, and I came to the opening ceremony and was quite impressed that a local Long Island university would have a cybersecurity lab.
It's a good opportunity to our students to learn about the cybersecurity field and also encourage they pursuing to this field careers, future careers.
We had a lot of fun during this event. It's actually our second time participating in it, and we were really excited to try again, but this time we did not end up with negative.
Yeah, so we're really proud about that.
I think this kind of competitions gives you some inspiration, because you get to compete with some people, and also this kind of competition gives you the opportunity to check yourself where you are in.
This year the CTP is not just a one-time event. We will continue this CTF event for all Hofstra community as well as the outside. So hopefully the event will be more growing, and then in the future our students go to that career in the cybersecurity field.
After the break, your weather report with Natalia Swaza. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
What a disaster.
You're a disaster.
This is a disaster.
You can't be ready for every little disaster, but you can prepare for a big one. Make an emergency plan today.
Now let's hear from Natalia Swaza with this week's weather forecast.
Thanks, Yao and Danny, and here is your 5-day weather forecast. Today has brought mostly cloudy skies, and we can expect rain to develop later in the day. Temperatures will reach a high of 58 and a low of 41. Thursday will bring rain all day. Temperatures will reach a high of 54 and a low of 44. Now, let's take a look at how the rest of the week will take shape here in Hempstead. On Friday, you can expect mostly cloudy skies, reaching a high of 56 and a low of 38. On Saturday, you'll see a mix of sunshines and clouds throughout the day, with temperatures reaching a high of 58 and a low of 36. Sunday will bring partly cloudy skies with a high of 56 and a low of 39. That's all for your 5-day weather forecast. I'm Natalia Swaza. Don't worry about those cloudy skies or rainy days. Active Minds at Hofstra is here with an event to put a smile on your face. Take a look at the organization's recent Craft a Hug event.
My name's Grace Landrigan. I'm the Associate Director of Health Promotions here at Hofstra University. I work between the Student Health Services and the Office of Student Wellness Education. This event in particular is a stress buster. So we recognize that there's high stress times, and we've seen that students respond well to crafting, so that's the nature of this event.
I feel like it's a good way for people to get to know each other, and also for people to spend their time instead of stressing.
I like that it's kind of like a nice small group. It's really quiet over here, which is nice. I like all the variety of options. There's so much paper and crayons, pencils, stickers.
It's giving me a time where my only responsibility is crafting and I don't really have to think about anything else.
I made a Kirby. I also made this. I feel like it's a good depiction of stress. And then I made a couple bunnies too.
So this is a bunny. Mostly everyone I think was making a bunny, and then we kind of got a little crazy and we all did different things. And I put a sticker on it and I made it stand up with a little stand. And then I made a baby bunny, and they get to hang out together and they're so cute.
First off, acknowledge that it is a stressful time. Whatever you're going through, it's valid. And then seek out support, seek out ways to help yourself or connect with on-campus resources. If it's taking a break, maybe go to the fitness center. They have group classes. If it's academic, you can go to the Center for Academic Excellence, tutoring, your professors. I'd say reach out. There's so many amazing people willing to help.
Coming up next, your entertainment report with Alex Webb. Don't turn that dial.
Thanks to the Zarb School for donating that basket. Love you guys. Have a good night.
I had invited Nick to my house after the first show as like a type of like celebration. He never showed up.
Sometimes I'll smell a hint of Versace Dylan Blue in the air, and I'll just start violently crying.
Whoever took Nick, if you touch a single, delectable, shiny, precious piece of his well-maintained hair, then I swear to God, we're gonna come for you, and I'm gonna eat your and no one's gonna have idea what to do.
Let's pass it over to Alex Webb for some entertainment news.
OSLE and Hofstra University are welcoming a very special guest to the Adams Playhouse tonight from 8 to 9 p.m. Staten Island native Sal Vulcano, best known for his work on Impractical Jokers, will be on Hofstra's campus for a night of comedy. For those who RSVP'd for this exciting event, be sure to pick up wristbands before 6 p.m. tonight in front of the Student Center, room 244, and have your event pass ready. Doors will open at the Adams Playhouse at 7:15 p.m., so make sure you don't miss out on what is sure to be a hilarious night. From April 12th through the 14th, April 18th through 21st, the Department of Drama and Dance will be showcasing performances of By the Way, Meet Vera Stark. This comedic play chronicles the life of Vera Stark, an African-American actress trying to make it in 1930s Hollywood. Links to RSVP can be found in the Hofstra events calendar, as well as department's Instagram at @HU_drama dance. Looking to commemorate Women's History Month beyond Hofstra's campus? Today from 4:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., Wyandotte Memorial High School will be hosting a Women's History Month celebration. The event will feature female entrepreneur vendor showcases and workshops, keynote speakers, honorary awards, and performances by local female DJs. The celebration will be hosted by filmmaker Princess A. Hairston, who will be honored along with Senator Monica Martinez and teacher Renee Williamson. Visit shadesoflongisland.org for more information. In honor of Women's History Month, Fatima Moen is here to speak with Professor Linda Longmire from Hofstra's Women's Studies Department on the importance that this month holds.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Dr. Longmire, for your time today.
Delighted to be here. Always love to talk about women's issues, Women's History Month especially.
Yeah, let's do it. So tell me, how did you get your start in women's studies?
Long time ago, when I was an undergraduate at University of California at San Diego, became aware that, you know, the issues were so important, particularly at that time. It was second wave feminism, as it was known. The first women's studies person that I ever met was the very famous Angela Davis,
Wow.
who was an amazing feminist. In addition to all of her other experience in history, she was a graduate student at the time. So I started thinking about, you know, how these issues affect all of us, how the social construction of gender is really impactful for men, women, all of us, and so that kind of critical reflection began my own kind of journey to sort things out, figure things out.
Wow.
And then, of course, here at Hofstra, we've continued and have a variety of projects and courses going way back to the 1970s that are concerns about women's studies and programs. And then finally, we got a program, and a full program where students can minor in women's studies, which is a big accomplishment.
That's right. And you told me behind the scenes before the show that you've been teaching here for 40 years. It's been quite the time here. Tell me, how has teaching in the department changed over the years? I mean, from 40 years ago, where are we now?
Well, again, in the 1970s, there was a whole array of new interdisciplinary approaches to learning. Why women's history is so important, I'll come back to, you know, your point, but we need to have the lost narratives. You know, so often history is written by those who win or those whose narratives are reinforced by power. But in that period, way back in the late 70s, people were starting to say, well, wait a minute, what about those whose stories, whose narratives have been repressed or ignored or minimized, including Black history, including Indigenous history, and of course, including women's history. So that was, you know, an exciting and early stage, whereas now we really have an established body of work, amazing work, in kind of rescuing, resuscitating all of those lost voices, including, of course, women's history. There really wasn't that big an emphasis. For example, there's International Women's Day, which is March 8th, but it wasn't until something like 1986 where this really became, you know, here in America. I mean, it goes all the way back to 1911. But women's history was following Black History Month, which was February,
Right.
And it was established, I think, in 1976 or something, and then 10 years later, Women's History Month. So it's been a long journey to bring those voices out of the margins and into the center of discourse, and Hofstra's been part of that transformation and part of that wave. But
And yourself, you've been part of that too, I'd argue.
A very small part, but nonetheless.
She's humble.
Nonetheless, it's really, we really, in women's studies today here at Hofstra, stand on the shoulders of the women of the 70s. There was a program, a liberal arts program, an interdisciplinary program at New College, which is really where women's studies started here at Hofstra. Then it moved to more broadly to the full campus. And again, it continued to evolve programs, courses. We're not a department, but we are a program. The other important thing about women's studies in general, in women's history, is that it is super interdisciplinary. In other words, it doesn't just examine one field, be it politics, be it economics, be it culture. It really tries to argue that these things are interrelated. So in that way, it's not only broader, but in some ways deeper than many academic programs. And again, which is why I think it's so very important that we
That's right.
that we acknowledge that. You know, most learning doesn't just take place in isolated, tracks. The courses, for example, that are offered are, span science. We have a course coming up in the fall that's a STEM course. And then a lot of it is cultural studies, but also politics. I'm technically a political scientist, so I'm, of course, particularly interested in those kinds of projects. And in fact, I'm developing a new course called Globalization, Women and Peace. But again, one of the wonderful things about women's studies, it draws on people from all these different departments, and really has also, we've forged a community, which I think is also important. Relationships between not only faculty members, but with students also. And so I think there's much to be said for not only the theories involved and the narratives involved in women's studies, but also creating community around these urgent issues that really affect all of us.
Thank you.
Not just in academic ways.
Beautifully said. Well, thank you, Professor Longmire, for your time. Back to you at the desk.
Great job as always, Fatima. Julia Kavanaugh's here with your sports update after the break. Don't go away.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Kavanaugh with some springtime sports updates.
Now that the snow has given way to the sun, spring sports have begun. Back on the fields with Hofstra lacrosse, the men's team lost a tough one in Delaware on Saturday, 13-10. Sam Lufty and Griffin Turner each had 2 goals in the contest to lead the Pride, who boasted a 4-1 lead after the first quarter, but the Blue Hens' attack proved too strong. Hofstra falls to 3-6 on the year, but will be back at Schuart on Saturday to face Monmouth. On the women's side, a 10-goal victory to remain undefeated in conference play was how they spent their Sunday. Elon could not keep up with the Roaring Pride in a 17-7 Hofstra dub. Carrie Walzer had 7 goals in the contest to bring her season total to 27. Hofstra now sits in 2nd place in the CAA and will face 4th place Towson on Saturday in Maryland. The Diamonds are shining bright as Hofstra baseball and softball are well underway. A Tuesday night doubleheader in Hempstead saw baseball defeat Seton Hall 3-2. Mike McKenna earned his first save of the year as the Pride earned their 8th win on the season. Across the parking lot, 24 nationally ranked Missouri came down and took softball to a 2-1 nail-biting contest. Stephanie Albruscata's liner up the middle brought the game-winning score in the top of the 9th. The Lions could not catch the Tigers, and that's all for sports. Now back to Danny and Yao.
That's all the time we have for this episode of Hofstra Today.
Make sure you follow us on social media across all platforms.
Until next time, that's all at and around Hofstra Today.